Yesterday, this moron tweeted to me in response to my suggestion that college campuses across the country name a building after Charlie Kirk, like Charlie Kirk Halls. It's common to have buildings named after famous alumni or other famous individuals as a permanent symbolic reference and reminder to what he stood for and what he sacrificed for students in future generations, saying that was unlikely since Charlie Kirk matters to basically no one other than radical or crazy radical right-wing nutcases. Well, that's interesting, sir, because this is how Thursday Night Football started yesterday.
All right, moments ago inside the stadium, the Packers and the NFL observed a silent reflection following yesterday's events.
The National Football League asks that you please join us in a moment of silent reflection following the murder of Charlie Kirk. The NFL condemns all violence in our communities. It will take all of us to stop hate. Thank you.
And this is how Stephen Colbert opened his show Wednesday night, just hours after what happened.
Good evening, everybody. After our scripts for tonight's show were finished this afternoon, we here at The Late Show learned that Charlie Kirk, a prominent right-wing activist, was killed at a speaking engagement in Utah.
During a debate, because the left kept losing the debates against him, and so then one of the unhinged lunatics carried out the wishes of the Democrat Party and the liberal media industrial complex and silenced him, obviously only amplifying his message 1,000-fold. But continue.
Condolences go out to his family and all of his loved ones. I'm old enough to personally remember the political violence of the 1960s. And I hope it is obvious to everyone in America that political violence does not solve any of our political differences. Political violence only leads to more political violence. And I pray with all my heart that this is the aberrant action of a madman and not a sign of things to come. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the show that we had prepared for you.
This might be somewhat self-serving because many on the left who have been relentlessly engaging in violent propaganda against us openly, I'm not saying Stephen Colbert was doing this, but we've all seen the compilations openly calling for and endorsing violence against President Trump and against us, are starting to realize that their dark fantasy isn't all that they hoped that it may be. Now worried that someone may want to seek revenge and do something similar to one of them. Obviously, since we're normal Americans, we don't want that. And we've been denouncing the violence coming from the mainstream media and the Marxist Democrats for years. But that is what I think is behind a lot of those on the left calling for things to tone down. New footage has emerged of the shooter fleeing the scene. They're running on the top of the roof to escape, scaling down and then dropping off of the roof. Also, footage has emerged showing him approaching the school, and he had the gun stuffed down the leg of his pants. And that's why he's walking funny here. The barrel is up his back, and he has his backpack on to try to disguise it. And they've got some fairly clean footage of him now on the campus. They've traced his steps, and this is the key person of interest. The FBI has put out a $100,000 reward for anybody who leads them to his arrest. And by now, I wouldn't be surprised if they know who he is and are in the process of trying to track him down. The student who was asking Charlie the question when he was shot, which was a question about gun violence, posted this video realizing that he is a moron.
And people have obviously pointed to the irony that the point that I was trying to make is how peaceful the left was.
Well, obviously, kid, you were wrong. That's okay. We were all young and dumb at one time. So this is your wake-up call. Because when liberals are posting illustrations like this, celebrating Charlie's assassination on other campuses across the country, you should know that your side is insane. This photo is going around, but it may be a deep fake or it may be extremely old because just a brief search doesn't pull up any news articles about it, showing what looks to be graffiti on a sign outside of Seattle Central College. If this was real, I would assume that it would be making headlines. It also looks like this was taken in the fall, still a little bit too early in September, but that just shows how dangerous these deep fakes are getting. Thousands, perhaps tens of thousands of people, particularly on TikTok, are posting videos. I showed some of them yesterday, celebrating Charlie's assassination. Many of them are teachers. I saw one, maybe I'll show it in a little bit, of someone in the U.S. military in his uniform celebrating it. And several of them have already been identified and fired. And there are teams of people out there tracking them down and alerting their place of employment and their colleges about what it is that they're saying. And I fully endorse and encourage that, because that is not cancel culture. These are people who you can't trust to be your coworkers. These are people who would poison your coffee if they could get away with it. These are people who would not alert you to a danger on a work site, on a job site, because they hate you, hoping that you would get hurt or worse. These people are not Americans. These people are dangerous. Blue Sky, which is this leftist alternative to Twitter, where all the loser liberals flooded to when Elon bought Twitter, claiming that, it's not safe for them anymore. It's too much hate speech over there, have been flooding Blue Sky with celebrations and encouragement of more violence. And so then Blue Sky had to officially warn the users, hey, by the way, that's against our terms of service, liberals. People like this who need to be identified and dealt with immediately. Now, I doubt that this is Vic.Melter. That's just the person who recorded this at this event. I think this is actually like a vigil for Charlie Kirk, so don't mix up this TikTok handle with this person. But this individual needs to be identified and brought to justice soon.
We got Charlie in the neck. We got Charlie in the neck.
These people are dangerous. These people are encouraging and inciting more violence and should be arrested. Of course, many of them, like the pundits on CNN and MSNBC and many Democrats in Congress, are blaming Charlie for this. He brought it on himself.
I've been studying figures like Charlie Kirk and his Turning Point USA.
This guy is from Veterans Fighting Fascism, which I'm sure is a gay veterans group.
And the effect that he has had on our country over the last 10 years. I am not excusing or condoning what happened to Charlie Kirk on that stage. I'm certainly not celebrating it. But as someone who has studied him and extremist movements for years, I am saying that he made the bed that he's now laying in.
By peacefully debating people, by going to what were supposed to be the bastions of free speech and encouraging people to come and challenge his ideas. Yeah, he brought it on himself. I would almost guarantee that this is the kind of woman that this veteran fighting fascism is into. Let's listen to him.
The sympathy for Charlie Kirk is weird. There seems to be this weird emphasis on taking the moral high ground and that you are somehow a better person if you're like, I feel bad for his family. This is the world he wanted and the world he was building. This is a white supremacist who wanted both of us dead. He was shot in the middle of saying something transphobic about trans people.
No, he was actually saying that you tend to be violent because you're disturbed in numerous different ways, which you just confirmed to us, sir. And just a heads up, I'm not going to bleep these. Some of these may have swearing in them. Usually I run a very family-friendly show, but I don't have the time to go in and edit these. And I think people should hear just how deranged these people are. And so this guy just posted this on his TikTok account with his name, Scott Coplin. Well, probably has went private by now or deleted his account, hoping not to face the repercussions that he deserves for saying this.
Where the fuck was this guy last summer, huh? We got
referring to Butler and the assassination attempt against President Trump.
An ear hole in our greatest time of need, and this motherfucker's over here breaking necks from 200 yards away. What the fuck? Couldn't have picked a better target? Charlie Kirk? Really? Okay. Rest in piss, I guess.
Wishing that this guy would have obviously done that to President Trump. Well, I think your career from now on is going to be piss, sir. And then there's this guy who was actually at the event, appearing to turn to the shooter and cheer and celebrate. And then someone purporting to be him posted something on social media claiming he was trying to distract the shooter, which doesn't make any sense at all, combined with the look of joy on his face.
Well, I just saw the video of Charlie Kirk getting his box boomed. I mean, boomed, bitch, like gone.
You can tell that this is a member of the LGBT community by the septum ring, and he just has that feminine look to him. Been chemically poisoned by the atrazine. And I don't need to translate this N-word ghetto speak to you, right? We all understand what he's talking about. Boomed, his boxy. They try to use these certain key words that the algorithm on TikTok won't pick up. And so they don't want to say exactly what they're talking about to avoid the videos getting flagged for violent content. That's why they all speak in these key words.
Save your sympathy for the kids who are getting bombed in Palestine. Save your sympathy for the people who are getting thrown in the concentration camps right now.
Oh, she's talking about people who are being deported, the criminal illegal alien invaders.
Your fucking sympathy for the people getting deported right now for no reason.
No reason.
Save your sympathy for those people and not an evil man who has done nothing but harm other people and be a Nazi.
See, they bleep that out because Nazi will trigger the algorithm. It'll be detected and flagged, so they call it Yahtzee. The kids got all these little tricks, but obviously another dysgenic mutant signaling to others with her fluorescent hair and nose ring. And because normal people are outraged at what these animals are celebrating and encouraging and doing their best to identify them and report them to their place of employment, giving the left a taste of their own medicine. But again, this is not cancel culture. This truly is consequence culture because these people are dangerous and deserve to be locked up in mental institutions. Places like Rolling Stone magazine are upset about it, saying the MAGA right says that Charlie Kirk is a martyr for freedom of expression, but still want people to lose their jobs for criticizing his rhetoric. That's all they're doing is criticizing his rhetoric. No, they're celebrating his murder and wanting more. The tiger doesn't change its stripes, and even though Jim Acosta has been fired from the Clown News Network, he is still the same. Listen to this.
Yeah, I mean, there's exploitation going on of his death, and it's happening on the right, and it's absolutely disgraceful, and it's sending us down a course where more people are probably going to get hurt. And I mean, that to me that's where I kind of held my breath yesterday, is that.
Because you don't care. You don't want people to know you were hoping that this was just going to be a little blip on the radar, not that it would be 24/7 news coverage eclipsing virtually all of the September 11th anniversary coverage yesterday.
You know, I think we're now in a moment, and there's not a whole lot you and I can do about this, Mike. You and I can talk.
Well, actually, Jim, it's people like you who were part of the problem, which helped incite this. Here's a diversity hire on CBS's morning show, blaming, of course, Republicans.
And as Tony mentioned, not everyone took to his words or his rhetoric. You know, at times, they were offensive to specific communities. But with that said...
Oh, no, specific communities. We've been talking about the trans community. You know what? Charlie Kirk was actually pretty moderate. And if people didn't like what he was having to say, the movement is now taking a sharp right turn. So get ready.
This is not the time to focus on that. We are focused on this tragedy. Speaking of this tragedy, is this a moment for your party to reflect on...
For your party. He's talking to Kevin McCarthy, the former Speaker of the House. This is a time for your party to reflect on the rhetoric that you've been engaged in.
Political violence? Is it a moment for us to think about the responsibility of our political leaders and their voices and what it does to the masses as they get lost in misinformation or disinformation that turns in and spills in?
He's literally framing it as if it's only coming from the Republicans. And you could see how uncomfortable his co-host is. She's sitting there, you know, like kind of like itching her neck. That's a nonverbal sign of discomfort. And she does weigh in then with this.
To political violence.
I say both parties, you know. I don't even say parties.
That was a nice try, man, but we all know that literally 99% of the violent rhetoric is coming from the left. From people like this.
You support a shooter?
Yep, sure do. Freedom.
You support Charlie Kirk's shooter?
Sure do. He does all a favor.
The shooter did them a favor, he says, but just wait for it because this clown got his karma real quick. This was recorded Wednesday night, the night of the assassination.
Okay. Do you have a job here in Seattle?
Nope. I TikTok for a living.
He does TikTok for a living, which means he literally lives in his mother's basement and makes like $500 or $700 a month. Well, let's see how that's turning out for you, sir.
A few moments later.
Oh, so you Trump supporters want to call my mom and threaten to kill my mom? Oh, yeah. That's why I called the police on you. And I'm reporting you for doxing and harassment. You're going to fucking prison, buddy. That's a federal charge. You're really going to call my mom and threaten her on the phone? Yep. Okay, I didn't want to bring the police in this because I hate the police, but now I'm going to. I have all the receipts. You're fucked. You are fucked. They can trace your phone calls. You called my mom and said you're going to kill her? Okay, wait till I get home.
I doubt they did that. They probably were talking trash and she misinterpreted it and got scared because Trump supporters aren't that dumb to call and make those kinds of threats. But, you know, this is, well, I would call this instant karma. And then there's Rabbi Shmuley, the Jewish rabbi who literally sells butt plugs with his daughter at their LGBTQ plus friendly sex shop over in Israel. I know a lot of people don't understand how that works. They think that Israel's a Jewish country, like a Jewish religious country, but it's a secular country. It's a Gino country. It's Jew in name only. Tel Aviv is the gay capital of the Middle East. That's a whole other story. But he posted on Twitter, on X, that he has spoken for his friend, Charlie Kirk, along accompanying with this video, many times, and he's in shock and praying for his recovery. But help protect him. Help protect Rabbi Shmuley. And then he included a link to his GoFundMe because this guy is such an incendiary dirtbag that he riles up some of the crazies. And so he fundraises off of that, saying that he needs protection from them. If you're not familiar with him and his antics, I know that this just seems like a parody account or a troll. But this guy is, well, I mean, he technically is a rabbi. And he literally is fundraising money for himself off of Charlie's death. And speaking of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, their prime minister, appeared on Fox News to supposedly speak some kind words about his friend Charlie, only then to pivot and make it about Israel's problems.
This is a worldwide problem. The people on the on the extremes, the Islamists, the radical Islamists, and their union with the ultra progressives. They often speak about human rights. They speak about free speech, but they use violence to try to take down their enemies, whether it's President Trump, who's been almost assassinated twice, or, they try to kill me here too.
And the attack on October 7th, we know. He's been doing a PR tour on big conservative podcasts in order to promote Israel's ethnic cleansing of Palestinians. And notice I didn't say genocide. I choose my words very carefully. It's a big difference between the two. And this is what Brandon Tatum said when he was interviewing him. Brandon was happy that when he went over to tour Israel, as all of these big brand name conservatives do, and I met Brandon, I like Brandon, but he kind of rubs elbows with that inner circle. When he went over to Israel to do that tour, to get the talk, he was pleased that Jews only spit on him once for being a Christian.
As a Christian who went to Israel, I spent 2 weeks there with the church, and we had an incredible time. We had only one incident where a small child spit on one of the pastors, and immediately after, there was an adult that came by and said, "That's not a representation of who we are. We love you guys. You guys are always welcome here." And I have to say
that most Fox News viewers, most Americans, most Christians aren't aware of the interesting phenomena of small Jewish children spitting on Christian visitors there. I'm going to wrap up this video by repeating my call to action that colleges across the country have a building named after Charlie Kirk as an enduring symbol to represent what he did, what he stood for, what he sacrificed, so that students, not only today, but in future generations, many years from now, will learn about Charlie Kirk, his debates on college campuses, and what the psychotic left and the liberal media and the Democrats in Congress incited someone to do in order to try to stop him.